Welcome back, guys. Well, we're finally here. How you get your small boat or jet ski to the Bahamas, part 4. So today we're going to go through some of the technical stuff on the boat. I'll do another video that'll go over some of the equipment and stuff like that on the jet ski. And then I'm actually going to do some maintenance videos too as well. I got a little bit of maintenance that I've done here recently. I did record some of that, but I'll put that stuff out a little bit later on, guys. But without further ado, let's jump right into it. Well, guys, this is my boat here. So I'm gonna start by saying there's not a one-size-fits-all on the safety equipment and everything like that you guys are gonna want on these boats. But I'm gonna give you a general idea of what I have. You can take what you use or you can take what I've used and apply it to you if it applies. And if it doesn't apply, guys, well, heck, I understand that one too. So I'm gonna get started. Where I'll start right here at the back of my boat. And one of the first things I had when I knew this boat was gonna do some Bahamas trips was trim tabs. So I've got the, I believe these are the 12 by 12 Lenco electric trim tabs. These things are awesome, man. So it wasn't a real fun install. That's a whole nother conversation for another time, but you can actually tell a huge difference with these things. So when I get out into the chop and it's a little bit rough, I can deploy these down a little bit and it forces the bow of the boat down. It actually helps the boat slice through the chop versus riding over the top of it, reduces the pounding significantly. Now, these do have limitations. In other words, if you're in really, really large seas, wouldn't necessarily use them because you don't want the bow stuff down that much. But in something where it's just small like chop, you know, these are definitely something that are awesome, guys. One of the best safety features you're going to want on your boat is a bilge pump. Most boats will come factory with them. My boat only came factory with one. It's right down there. I wanted to mess a little bit. I was doing some oil changes and stuff earlier, and so there's probably still a little oil down there. But my boat came with the one. Once again, as we talked about before, you're going to want redundancies and backup plans. So one of the first things I did when I knew this boat was going to go to the Bahamas was a second bilge pump. That's right. That bilge pump was in a decent location in the engine compartment, but there's actually a lower spot here. So try and get in here and see if you guys can see. But right down over here, you're going to see I have another bilge pump that I've installed. So this is a second bilge pump. I added this one in the lowest part of the boat. And what that does is it gives me the added feature of one, now being able to pump water out twice as fast if any water does come into the boat. But if one of my bilge pumps fail, I have a backup that's already there. One of the problems with failing bilge pumps is most people don't realize they failed until it's too late. So always make sure to check your bilge pumps before you go on these trips. Definitely a day or two before, you're gonna wanna double check your bilge pumps and make sure they're working so you've got time to replace them before you depart. And even if you only have one, I would absolutely recommend you bring a second one with you on the trip just to kind of help in case it goes bad. On my Bahamas trips now, pretty much every year I've watched somebody's bilge pump fail. So once again, just bring an extra one with you. I'm doing a little bit of spring cleaning and maintenance here, so please ignore the condition of the boat. More about just the things that I have going on with the boat here. So I've got some pretty massive bumpers that I use for the Bahamas. You guys are gonna be docking up a lot of times on some non-floating docks. That's a lot of what we see down there. Go ahead and get you guys selves about 4 really good bumpers. That's going to help a lot if you're trying to protect your boat at all. Also, the same deal, my docking lines. I keep 4 sets of docking lines on the boat at minimum. I believe I've got 6 on here right now. Get some of the longest ones you can, because some of these docks you'll be tying off to or designed for mega yachts and are going to be significantly taller than your boat. So get some of the longest lines you can get. I think all mine are 35 foot anymore on the docking lines that I keep on here. But once again, those bumpers and those docking lines are going to be super important as you guys are trying to dock down there and even pull up the fuel docks and things like that. This is another good tool that I keep on my boat as well, and it is really helpful for the Bahama trips. This is called a boat hook. So what this does here, guys, is this actually extends out, I think, to about almost 15 feet. And really, it helps with trying to grab docks if there's a heavy current, especially if I'm on the boat by myself. All of a sudden now I can grab a dock or something and pull myself in. If we're tying up with some other boats at a dive location, I can use this to pull myself over to the other boat without having to get too close on power and risk running into the other boat. But there's a lot of different functional things with this. But man, even for everyday boating, guys, if you boat anywhere where there's any kind of currents, I love this thing because I wind up a lot of the times on the boat by myself, pulling it off, trying to get it up to docks. And this right here, I just got to get within a few feet of the dock and I can just grab the hook and just pull the boat right in. But it's an awesome tool. Also, one other thing right now that let's see what we got here. Of course, we got the grill. That's always important. Anchors. So I keep 2 on the boats for the Bahamas trip. I've got a box anchor up in the front, but obviously you can tell I've got my cover off. I'm not planning on pulling everything out. I keep my box anchor up front. One thing I'll tell you about frontal anchors for anybody, and this applies for any boat, do not place an anchor in the anchor locker. if you've got a hanging system and your anchor can hang, then you're good. I've designed a system for my box anchor where my box anchor can hang up to the front, and you're going to want your anchor hanging. If your anchor is bouncing around up there in the wave and surf, man, it's going to get ugly real fast, man. I've seen anchors come actually through the fiberglass in the front of a boat from beating around in the waves doing that. So please, whatever you do, if you've got an anchor and it's not hanging, move it back to a further storage compartment. This is my rear anchor, so these are actually pretty important in the Bahamas as well. I use it just about every time we anchor up to kind of keep my boat facing the direction that I want it to face, or if I want to get in really close to something, it's really easy if I've got the anchor up front and the anchor in the rear to get closer to things and actually get the boat in one really secure spot. So I highly recommend this anchor, guys. I think this is just the 1 pound. It's the smallest Mantis anchor they make, but I'll tell you what, it freaking grips. It's awesome. I highly recommend it, guys. Let's see here, what else do we got going on? Obviously, fire extinguishers. I keep 2 on my boat. You definitely want to keep those around. Those are pretty important as well, and you'll need this for to pass like a Coast Guard safety inspection or anything like that also. You can see here where my GPS mount is. I got GPS. Yeah, we do. So carry a Garmin on it, but once again, you're going to want to fix mount GPS, man, on the boat. Everybody needs their own GPS. There's no reason to try and save money and not have a GPS. It's your life that's in stake here. But that's where I keep my GPS on that one, so make sure that you guys have a GPS on there. I do not have a fixed mount radio on this boat, but I do highly recommend if you've got a boat and you plan on doing a bunch of these Bahamas trips to do it. I have used just a handheld VHF on my prior couple trips, and the range stinks, but I was with a boat each time that had a fixed mount GPS, and I was confident enough in that boater he wasn't going to leave me, so that was one of the reasons I didn't worry about it so much. But still, I do highly recommend that you get one, and if you don't get one, be prepared to leave your boat in an emergency situation and get on the person's boat that does have one. So actually, go back here. So right here you can see I've added this little net. It's a cargo net. It has this lower shelf in my boat, and this is because of the Bahamas trip, so things are going to flop around and fly. I know now that I can put anything I want behind this cargo net, and it's going to stay behind the cargo net. It might not stay perfectly stacked the way it was stacked, but it ain't going to go anywhere, and it isn't going to flop down here onto the floor or anything like that. So one of the other things that you'll want to look at is your storage situations. What can you do to kind of secure things up and, hopefully get yourself in a good spot where you're not going to have stuff flying around, because that's another thing you don't want happening while you're doing this, is to be chasing stuff around your boat while you're trying to navigate the Gulf Stream. That gets pretty ugly and hairy pretty quick as well. You want to make sure everything is definitely secured down as much as you can get it secured, and not somewhere where it's going to be able to flop around. So of course, flare gun, we need that. Also keep a first aid kit on the boat all the times. Koozies, that's always important, right? Wow, I just happen to have a Bahamas courtesy flag. So when you're entering the Bahamas, this is the flag after we clear customs that we would put up. I do not see my yellow quarantine flag right here right off, but usually I know I've got one somewhere too as well, but I've got the yellow quarantine flag that you fly when you're hanging in. So you basically just want to find your own kind of flag setup and how you want to do it. Me, I've got rocket launchers on my boat, and my actual flagpole is it's a flagpole that actually goes in one of the rocket launchers right there. So because there's not an actual flagpole set up on my boat, but it's easily removed, and I can put it back up and do what I want to do with that as we go. All right, so carrying gas is always one of the tricky points on one of these kind of trips on a boat. So typically what I use is these. They're pretty manageable. These are 2.5 gallon no spill gas cans. I see people use the 5 gallon ones and some other bigger stuff. Guys, the 2.5 gallon, especially in rough conditions, it's just light enough and easy enough to manage, and that's why I go with this one. I carry multiple of them, usually 3 to 4, and storing them on the boat, so it's not really that difficult. You just got to be a little bit creative and figure out what you're going to do with it. A lot of boats like mine, they have swim decks. I see people put them back there. If you've got a Yamaha jet boat like this one, obviously make sure you put it on the bottom step, because you don't want to block your clean out ports that you may need to gain access to. What I found is the easiest and the best for me, though, is literally I try and use every bit of space I can to keep things clear and make sure things aren't going anywhere. 2.5 gallon cans are small enough that they actually literally slide right underneath my seat. So basically, I'll usually turn this around the other way, so it's I'll have one sitting there. Two more on the back side of my chair over there as well. So I'll carry at least 7.5 to 10 gallons right there underneath my seat. And I've been out in all kinds of conditions, and these haven't gone anywhere. So they usually stay, especially if they're full. They're not going anywhere. But it's still out in the open, so I don't have to worry about fume buildup or anything like that. These gas cans don't really let off any fumes anyway. Basically, you've got to bank your own pressure. Just every once in a while, you press the little green button. If you don't know about the no-spill gas cans, do a little research on these. These are awesome, especially for the jet skis, and I'll show you that later. But because it's got an auto stop feature, basically I just flip this can over, push the green button, and when it fills up to the nozzle, it stops. But that also means on the jet ski, I can fill my fuel all the way up to the very tip top and not have to worry that I'm leaving any unused space in that fuel tank. So I mean, I can put it all the way up into the funnel. But these are what I'm using on that, and once again, that's where I store them. I wouldn't store these in any kind of closed compartment, so don't try and store your extra fuel under the seats, in the head compartment, in like ski lockers or anything like that. You're going to want them pretty much out in the open. You're going to want quick access to them, and once again, just make sure you do use a size that you can manage in rough seas, maybe not even feeling so good. So but that's what I'm using there, guys. So in small boats and jet skis alike, this is probably one of the most underutilized things that I see is the compartments that are typically wet compartments. So basically what I've got here is, this is my ski locker, and this does not stay 100% dry. So this right here would obviously get water into it. You can see where there's it's a little dirty down there from where water's probably been into it before. The best way to utilize some of these compartments is to make them dry. So I actually use this to store all my clothes, anything that's soft that can bang around a little bit. It doesn't necessarily need to be firmed, but what I use are these dry bags. So these things work out perfect. So I can get all of our clothes, I can get clothes for 3 people probably in this one dry bag for an entire week in the Bahamas. But I can just stuff that down here, and now it no longer matters if this gets wet because this dry bag's going to keep all my stuff dry. So anything that's soft and needs to stay dry goes in these. And then any like camera equipment and stuff like that that I want to keep dry as well, anything we take with us, I'll put that in this as well. But what that really makes the availability for is things that are super pertinent that can't get wet. And all of a sudden I can put into the head compartment that can be completely used for that kind of stuff, versus having to fill that up with clothes or other things that you just kind of want to keep dry, when they can go in a bag like this and get put into a wet compartment and still be good. One of the other things we talked about, guys, is ditch bag. So this is kind of part of my safety protocol. I always keep the ziploc bag in here, and typically on the Bahamas trips especially, I put everything, passports, cash, everything in this bag in here. And what that does is, in case of an emergency, I just have to reach across, open it up, grab this one bag, my cash, my passport, everything I need to get back out of the islands or make arrangements is in this bag no matter what. So it's always a good idea to keep all that stuff together, keep it something that's watertight and something that you can grab really fast in case of an emergency to get out with. But that's my ditch bag setup, and I just put it right there in the glove box. Another thing is, you're going to want to keep tools on your boat. Pretty much what I make sure I have is any kind of regular maintenance item I may need to do on a boat. I want to make sure I have a tool to at least perform that, and possibly more. So I do keep a 65-piece ratchet set on hand, multiple different screwdrivers and screwdriver bits, and just miscellaneous things. I've got some screws in here, zip ties if I ever need to zip tie something up in an emergency. So lots of different things that I'll keep on the boat just as in case stuff. And so I highly recommend that as well. You're going to want a decent toolkit. Once again, I even keep a spark plug puller. I mean, just in case for some reason I foul a spark plug, I got it there. The flashlight and various things, but you'll want at least enough to do basic maintenance stuff in case you foul a spark plug. Maybe you do take on a little bit of water and you need to fix something. Zip ties are great, just in a pinch if you need to do something as well. So I even carry some spare hose clamps. I carry spare spark plugs on the boat. Pretty much just all the basics that I would think I need. Now, don't get me wrong, if something serious goes wrong, obviously I'm stuck, but I've got enough to where, if anything basic, I mean, I think even one year we had a starter not fail on a boat that I was on, a friend of mine's boat. The starter actually fell off. But, once again, we were prepared enough, had the tools and everything like that, that we were actually able to get the starter assembly and everything back together and back on in the middle of the ocean, and continue on with our way. So, once again, tools are a very important thing. I would keep them. Even on the jet ski, I carry some tools with me when I'm going. Once again, I'll do another video that's just the jet ski, though, and just kind of show you guys how I prep my jet ski when we go on that. A lot of these same tools are used. They're just obviously used in a more compact setting. So, guys, so this is kind of the basics of the stuff that we take with us, and just some of the equipment that's on my boat that helps out with these trips. Once again, every boat's a little bit different, so just because I've got something on my boat, I mean, it's something for you, and I'm sure there's other things on your boats that you guys may have. Some people may have radar, sonar, the night vision stuff, and those things. And it's just for most of my boating every day, that stuff doesn't make sense, and my boat's not a good setup for that either. But the bigger the boat, the more options and toys you're going to have on those kind of things. If you guys have any questions or comments, please let me know. there's anything else you'd like to see or anything about the boat that you want to know about, let me know as well. Also be sure to hit the subscribe button. Thanks, guys.